Hey boys, how you doing?
No bad, my
All
man.
right,
No
mate.
bad.
Not too bad.
Right, for MD that's watching this early or MD that's going to be watching in the future, this is Full Time Football's first ever streamed live YouTube podcast.
Aye.
This is the first time we get to see the faces behind the blethering.
Freaks me out being able to see you.
I've got an absolute cracker ass spot, man. Look at this. my television appearance, television debut.
Mental.
How you doing, boys? Any New Year's resolutions?
Try and hide my forehead is mine because it's starting to get noticed now. So if you notice I'm wearing my hair down a wee bit, try and grow a bit of a fringe to try and cover it, so I don't get snaked by the fucking Gazette again at some point.
We've lasted 10 days of the year and I am isolating.
I was isolating before New Year, to be fair.
It's horrendous.
Tomorrow.
I think I'm what's it, the 12th? I'm 3 days into it and I'm absolutely sick of it.
So that's what you've been up to?
Just working. Ever since Christmas I've been working, so I've been busy. I mean, I'm not allowed in my own house because my sister's isolating and my mum doesn't want me to get it, so I think it's so I can bring them shopping. So I think that's the sinister choice behind it, but hey ho, such is life.
We've got a few things to rattle through this week. None of the Rangers fans have turned up this week except for myself. But
just before we start, if you're watching on Facebook and you want to comment in, if you leave a comment, in the comment of the page, we can flash it up on air. So say whatever you want to those three. If you say anything about me, it's not getting up. So it's up to you.
As long as it mentions my spots, I'm really self-conscious about
it. On my forehead.
We'll start off by putting you three right in the spot with last week's Old Firm. Obviously, it's been a week since the game, so don't want to dwell too much on it. But into the game with a lot of key players not starting. A lot of pressure was on Neil Lennon to play people like Sorrow instead of Scott Brown, etc. And Griffiths and Edward up top. To start off with, before you even talk about the game, do you think the team selection was right for Neil Lennon? And do you think everything looks positive?
Aye, I think so. Obviously, that's the team that had been on form. That was the personnel war getting the most tune at us. So I've had absolutely no complaints that it was a 4-4-2 diamond. Obviously, there was a lot of talk at whether he would change to 4-2-3-1. I think, seeing kind of terms of open play in the first half, I think it was kind of indicated going 4-2-2 diamond, 4-4-2 diamond, sorry. But in the end, it just wasn't to be, unfortunately. We've had an absolute car crash since then that we'll no doubt get into. But I think in terms of personnel that played, I wouldn't have changed too much. Obviously, unfortunate that Joe N get crocked 3 days before the game and now looks as if he's going to be out for quite some time. You still take him to Dubai, aye. But aye, in terms of personnel, I didn't have many complaints.
And in terms of the first half performance, I was sitting there absolutely bricking myself. Celtic were dominant, Rangers were so passive. If it wasn't for Alan McGregor, Celtic could have easily been 2-0 probably.
Yeah, but I think
you would have done different.
That's been indicative for Celtic this season, even in the games where we've played, and got pass marks, we've not been finishing our chances, and that's what shot us in the foot here. The first half, we played well, dominated Rangers, but the chances we had, we didn't take them, and Alan McGregor, had a great game, but when you've got that much pressure on a team, you need to be putting some goals away. And the fact we didn't shot ourselves in the foot, stupid decision in the second half for a tool of a centre-back cost us in the end.
I think Celtic came at the box quite fast. First 20 minutes really came flying out the traps, but after that I was quite disappointed actually, because I think it was the two fullbacks in particular. If we're getting the ball out wide, we need a good delivery. We've got two strikers in the park. You need good service, and it just wasn't coming for the two. But all in all, going into half time, I was reasonably happy. I mean, Rangers had been reduced to next to nothing and next to no chances really. I mean, for 20 minutes on, Celtic never created a lot, but were very, very comfortable in the game, snuffing out Rangers in the midfield. it was all going all right, but when it got to half time, nothing each I feared it worse, I've got to say.
And then it was just a total moment of madness with Beaton. Don't know what he was thinking, but absolutely
Look,
not.
I mean, I think that was it's maybe a problem with a centre back partnership that's no played together a great deal, because obviously Ayer, there's all the argument that Ayer was covering. He was miles away, right? But Ayer should be covering there. Like, if that ball,
The position that
kind of
was
basics are covering centre half, or if a ball's down the line, you get in fast, in behind, and Ayer was miles away. But still sceptical. I think 7 times out of 10 that's a yellow card. I've said, but I didn't really have any complaints about it being given as a red, to be honest with you.
See, to be honest, when I watched it, I immediately thought it was red. It was a fucking Chrissy Ferguson decision to make that challenge, man. I was like, oh, I don't understand what he's thinking there, because, like, get the joke out of the way. It's not as if Morelos is going to score against Celtic anyway, for one, you know. But for two, there's still a lot of space.
That's what Beaton was thinking. He was in his head. He was like, "Fuck, I can't let him score there."
But there's a lot of space.
Can he lose the league and have Morelos score against us this year?
But there's a lot of time for, they're saying Ayer's miles away. There's a lot of time for him to come in and try and narrow that angle, or at least put some pressure on Morelos. I don't think that Morelos would have went through to score. And I'm not saying it wasn't a red
goal
card.
scoring opportunity, but no whether it scores or not.
That's what I'm saying. I absolutely think it was a red card, because it was a goal scoring opportunity. But from a Celtic point of view, and from looking at it from Beaton's point of view, it's a challenge he didn't necessarily have to make, in my opinion. And it did cost us the game in the end. And it's stupid as fuck. Like, he's not a natural centre back, but he's played there often enough. You'd hope he wouldn't be making rash decisions like that.
To be honest, he was actually playing very well before that.
Aye.
I thought personally Morelos and Ruth were kept very quiet by both Ayer and Beaton.
Aye, Ruth get hooked just after half time, didn't they?
Yeah, just at half time, apparently with an injury, but that was probably the best thing that happened to Rangers, to be honest, because we kind of discussed in the chat last week, the Rangers team picked itself, but in the front three was only kind of questionable selection choices that Gerrard had. I kind of made my point at Hadji, saying that in the form that he was playing in, he had went with Hadji, Roof and Kent, but McCann, you said to me as well, you didn't rate Hadji and you would have probably preferred if he'd started. But I thought Hadji came on.
I think he's one of these guys with good touches and that. I've not seen him a great deal to make any kind of serious judgment on him, but I don't feel as if he's got much end product, and I wasn't too fearful of him. Fearful of the prospect of him playing, but he was all right when he came on. I thought he wasn't brilliant, but he was probably more involved than Ruth was in the game. He had a couple of kind of sniffs, but
aye. And in the form that the Rangers front three were in before the game, I was more concerned with from Ruth, to be honest. Ruth was in really good goal scoring form. Just looking at like the results.
Well, Ruth was the one in the back of my mind, because in these games he's a kind of unknown quantity. I don't think he played a minute in the game in October, for what I can remember. And obviously he only joined in the summer, so he was a kind of unknown quantity.
Before the game, though, they were showing highlight packages of like Roof back to back with Edward, and for me, that's what put the seed in my head. Like, we're not winning today, because Roof just looked dynamic, looked like he wanted to score, looked like he wanted to get in spaces, and Edward, from the highlights, and you can see any Celtic fan who's been watching the games this season, he looks lethargic. His touch isn't there, and his finishing hasn't been there either. And I think there's a lot of things you can boil this season down to at this point, but the form of the strikers on both sides of the own form, it's been like night and day, and you'd expect more for someone with Edward's price tag compared to, the Rangers side of things.
I think from a Rangers point of view, there's no question that we were lucky, obviously, to win the game. Obviously, with the red card and then the own goal for Callum McGregor's shoulder, whatever the hell that forfeit. But I think I was texting Jordan at half time. He's not came on the night because he's absolutely riddled with COVID. But
shouldn't he laugh? But he's had a lot of close shaves. Like, it's bound to catch him eventually.
I wish you the best, Ned. But I was texting Jordan at half time saying this is when at 0-0 and Rangers having to touch the ball. Like, Celtic were just so dominant. Like, they can't play that same way in the second half, and Rangers can't play worse in the second half. So I felt like weathering that storm was an achievement in itself, and I think it gave Rangers a kind of platform to go and even just take a point for the game. And then obviously we did get a bit of luck, the refereeing decision, and
what did
goal.
disappoint me after the kind of obviously the turning point of the game is the red card. I don't think Kemda would argue with that. But what disappointed me was how negative we went as soon as we went into 10 men. I mean, you compare and contrast that to the 3-2 game under Rodgers. I think Simonovic gets sent off probably about a similar time to what Beaton gets sent off. And instead of just sitting back, bringing an extra defender on, we brought Edouard on for Forest. We get Edouard and Dembele playing up top together. And it reaped its rewards in the end. We ended up winning 3-2 with 10 men. Would that have happened again if we'd made a similar change? Possibly not, but for me, we were far too negative just to bring... We obviously had to bring on our centre-half, but bringing Griffiths off, taking the two up top away, I thought that was very negative.
Yeah. It looked as if we were just good to see out the game, kind of go for the draw after that. It kind of showed no ambition to go for the win.
Maybe honest, for me, a draw wouldn't have been enough anyway.
I know.
I thought
it was 3 points or nothing.
Right. Toff, are you confident after that game that the league's done? Just do you think it's wrapped up from a Rangers point of view?
bear in mind we've had a weekend of games since then, Truffles. Steady on.
I will come back to that. That's pretty much all I've got in the Old Firm anyway. Don't know if you want to add anything to that, but
no, I've already
moved on.
It's obviously been a week since then. There's been a lot of chat in the news about it. So there's a live game on tonight right now. Dundee United versus St Johnstone at Tannadice. It's 2 each in the 84th minute. Game was actually postponed on Saturday, which is funny because the game was postponed due to weather, and Dundee versus Bonnyrigg Rose played on the same street, went ahead. There was talk on Twitter that apparently Dundee's got a heated pitch or something like that, but I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs yet, but I thought that was quite bizarre.
I think they said it was a section of the pitch that was still unplayable. That sounds a bit sceptical to me.
I mean, a section of the Dundee United team and St Johnstone team are unplayable, so I don't really see what the problem is. That takes us nicely onto the weekend's Scottish Cup action, but not too many upsets, so a couple of close calls. 2 games went extra time. You watched the Dundee versus Bonnyrigg highlights, McCann, so I'll give you the floor.
I thought I better have something to say on it, but I was actually going to watch the game, but I did get overruled. But to be honest with you, I have never felt more sorry for a goalkeeper than what I felt for that Bonnyrigg goalkeeper. Because first half, for the little action I've seen of that game, it looked like Bonnyrigg actually really were quite comfortable in the game, really took the game to Dundee, had a bit of confidence about them, got themselves 1-0 up. But obviously the second half, Dundee, bigger side, it was a total onslaught by the looks of it. But the keeper was pulling out saves left, right and centre. He had probably the game of his life, the Bonnyrigg keeper. And even at the critical moment, I think it was 90+3 Dundee equalised, but the save the keeper makes just before Afolabi taps it in, it's an unbelievable save. He would, if you're the keeper, you're absolutely sick. It's like, can you remember the save Craig Gordon done when he played for Sunderland against Zach Knight? It was maybe Zach Knight or somebody, but he just claws it. Basically, clawing back to it. It was an unbelievable save. But Afolabi's there to tap it in. Then, in extra time, Bonnyrigg find themselves in front again via another penalty, which was a very soft penalty. But in the end, Dundee's professionalism and experience got them through. Very, very close to a big upset, but not quite to be.
I actually fancied them for an upset because there seems to be a few occasions in the last couple of years that teams from that Lowland League have delivered upsets, like East Kilbride and BSC Glasgow, and
I think
this year, but
at half time there was a lot of people saying on Saturday the Kelty Hearts Stranraer at half time. I think Kelty Hearts were 2-0 up. I say that it's been coming for years. League 2 teams are just living dangerously with what's going on in the Lowland League. Obviously, then Stranraer scored 3 goals in the second half, but that's Would that have been a shock? Probably not. It's probably maybe a shock Stranraer actually beating Kelty at Kelty, to be honest with you, but that's about the closest we came to a lower league side beating a team above them.
Listen, just wait until Inter and Shinnon's in the cup next season. That's when the upstates have got firing in, boys. Firing in. Telling you.
Don't know if amateur team's class.
Not quite amateur, but Linlithgow Rose came close as well. A junior side took on League Two's Forfar. Finished one each, went to extra time. Forfar dismantled in extra time, 4-1. So I had that one in my coupon, so that was quite an emotional ride for me. I suppose the only real upset was Alloa for the championship, getting beat off the Cove Rangers. We kind of spoke about it a wee bit in the chat.
I mean,
it might be
I've got a wee bit of a soft spot for Alloa, but they had the lead twice. But I think Cove Rangers probably merited a victory looking at the story of the game. But again, it's a very minor upset, but I think there's 2 league places between them. So, I mean, I think Cove Rangers are second in the League One, Alloa second bottom in the Championship. I wouldn't rush to call it an upset.
Yeah.
But Cove Rangers coming from behind twice, done the job well. And rewarded with a trip to Ibrox next, I believe.
Well, that moves us nicely on to the draw. Rangers got Cove Rangers at Ibrox. Celtic got Arbroath or Falkirk. It'd be a tough game for you.
I don't fancy it against either.
I know.
As
long as they don't arrange another training camp in Dubai for it.
I mean, to be honest, we don't actually know when that game against either of them will get played. Obviously, the Scottish Cup being binned.
Well, they cancelled all the championship games tonight. So they could play a couple of games this week. Apparently, I think there's a couple of games rescheduled for tomorrow. So I don't know if they're going ahead or not. But
I take it that's all the previous round games that are still to get played. I think there's
all the games for Saturday get played. I think as well.
Because that is it. Brora Rangers, they played last night, but they've still got this round's game to play before. Then I think they're playing Hearts next, and then it's on to play Stranraer. So there's a backlog for that one game.
No, I think they're playing Hearts tomorrow night. I think. There's third round the Scottish Cup, so it's still a kind of couple of lower teams in it. Don't really see any that I'm thinking stand a chance.
I don't think. I think for the first time in a few,
Inverness, it's probably the
Highlands. In a
Highlands.
few years, we've not got any Lowland League teams.
Aye.
It's maybe a bit of a surprise with what East Kilbride and the likes of Celtic Hearts have spent in players, but
who is it Hearts are playing again?
Stranraer. Well, Brora Rangers and potentially Stranraer.
Well, hopefully Craig Young tears are incoming then after that one. We'll get an upset there. That'll be class.
Ruffles reminded me to tell you at the start of the show that if you've got any comments to make, just head over the YouTube channel FTYT and
just so we're clear,
absolutely
because I can't put that up in air or the video will get taken down. As funny as I find them.
So just put your Union Jack hat on and sing quietly. Staying with this weekend's games, there was only 2 games on Saturday because of a few postponements. Kilmarnock at Rugby Park took on Hamilton. Greg Kelty's brace, comfortable win for Kilmarnock, 2-0. Is this the year that Hamilton go down, do you think?
Hopefully.
I absolutely hope so. I've been calling for it for probably since they've came back up. So,
they're just an absolutely brutal football team to watch. I mean, don't get me wrong, they grind out results with what they do, but it is bloody painful to watch.
They scored actually a couple of good goals. It's just defensively they're shocking.
I mean, personnel wise, I think they've maybe got probably their strongest team they've had in a few years, but I just Yogi Hughes in at Ross County look a wee bit stronger. Still no quite getting results. Obviously, Livingston have been absolutely flying. They've went to relegation candidates to bloody contenders for second place with the way Celtic are in. But hopefully Yogi Hughes gets a tune out of Ross County and gets them up to 11th. They can maybe go down and let them Fairman or something up. But as long as Hamilton are in the league next year, I'm no caring.
That's another point I've got that to make. Ali's not here tonight. Obviously, he's taking a.
He's not watching Scottish
To be
football
fair,
anyway.
I'll say one more thing for Kilmarnock. They getting Yusuf Malumbu and I deal at the end of the season will do them some turn because
Aye, see
on the basis of the little
Well, he technically got a assist for one of the goals.
Just through the
I don't know if
highlights.
you've seen highlights, but
Malumbu's range of passing, strength in the middle of the parts. There's not a lot of teams that have players like that, and the SPL anyway. His legs are totally away. Don't get me wrong, but
still technically gifted. Even if we
Aye.
can get 60 minutes out of him,
I mean,
you're on to a winner.
the guys had the career he's had for a reason. I'm still absolutely sick about the fact Celtic signed him instead of John McGinn, but let bygones be bygones, maybe.
We'll move on for the absolute dross of Hamilton Accies and move on to the game at St Mirren Park. St Mirren 1, Motherwell 1. Graham Alexander took charge of his first game at the helm, a Defantico opener, and Graham Alexander was denied by his first win by a Jamie McGrath penalty. Please tell me you've seen the highlights of this penalty decision.
Aye, see, I'll say one thing, right? Lee Irwin, it was Lee Irwin that went down, wasn't it?
Lee Irwin, aye.
Right. What a case he made when he went down, because see when you see it from the first angle, it looks so convincing. Because I think, is it Mugabe that's coming in behind him? He's clever enough to make it look as if he's fouled, so I can actually kind of see how the referee gave it. But see when you see it again, it is ludicrous.
He's absolutely sold the referee a bad one. Honestly,
I don't know. Has he been cited for a potential retrospective ban or that for the dive? Because
I've not heard it, to be honest. It's Tuesday and I've not heard it.
See, to be honest, it's that talented a dive that he shouldn't be.
Aye.
I don't even know if it's a diving. He just swung for the ball and he's just pure keeled over.
But honestly, see that the first time I seen it, I thought I've heard this is a contentious decision. It looks a stone wall. Then you see it for the other side, and you're like, oh wait a minute.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
for what I've seen, I think the spoils being shared was probably fair in that game.
I agree. Aye.
We were talking about Graham Alexander in the chat a couple of days ago. I don't know enough about him as a manager, but the kind of as soon as you hear the first words about a manager saying his teams are well organised, that normally equates to his teams play a really dreadfully blown football. But I could be wrong. We'll see how it goes with him. I mean, Motherwell did need a change. I mean, Robinson had done a great job with them, but they did need a change. And Alexander's CV, it's all right. I mean, it's I kind of likened it to what Mickey Mellons was before he ended up at Dundee United. So we'll see how it goes for him. I'll say one
thing. The only thing I would question on Alexander's appointment is I've obviously followed him at Fleetwood and he's went to Scunthorpe and then Salford after that, and he brings in a lot of players every transfer window. Like every team he's been at and every season he's at a team, he brings in a couple of players. And Motherwell's not really the team that's. Can you see them bringing in a couple of players in January?
I don't know. Motherwell normally kind of change a lot of their team in the summer. It's just that's a lot of Scottish teams kind of do. The nature of only signing guys in 6 month to 12-month contracts a lot of the time. But I think kind of we'll see more done in the summer. And maybe one or two. I think his first signing, Liam Kelly, I think that's a strong signing. He was excellent at
a very good signing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not even sure if you can class that as signing, but I think that must have been.
I think
that
it probably was in the pipeline, but I don't know what the story was at QPR. I mean, they had a game against Leeds last year where they get man of the match in front of the Sky cameras, but he's obviously not been number one when he came up. But I think it's a pretty shrewd bit of business for Motherwell to get him in.
Yeah, actually did make an outstanding save. I think it was the Ian Durmus free kick.
Aye. Late on.
Aye, that was a very good save, and then Jack Alnwick stopped a Marco Hara free kick.
Was a two good goal. I think Jack Alnwick getting the team of the week. He made a couple of really good saves. Obviously, that's the SPFL one, because if the Bonnie Rig Rose one didn't get in the team of the week for the whole of Scotland, I would be sick.
If you're the Bonnie Rig Rose goalkeeper and you're watching, comment and we'll get you on.
I should have actually learned what his name was. I should have taken a note of his name so I could name drop him for him to never hear it. But Bonnie Rigro's keeper. What a keeper. Get him in.
That's now 11 games with a win for Motherwell. They've scored 5 goals in the last 10 games. So I think their top goal scorer is Tony Watt, 3 goals this season. Surely the one thing he's got to be looking at bringing in is more strike force.
I mean, you looked at it, obviously, Tony Watt's kind of started getting a wee run of games together for Motherwell finally. Devante Cole on paper was quite a strong sign. I mean, the first time he was at Motherwell, he done a good turn for them, but obviously he scored against St Mirren at the weekend. I don't know how many goals that takes him up to, but
I think he scored 2 goals this season.
Now, it'll be interesting to see if they bring anyone in during January, even if it's on loan.
Well, they get rid of that boy. That boy was on loan to Wigan. He left, didn't he?
Aye, he went back. He got recalled.
I'm actually quite surprised, and this has only came to my mind because I kind of see one of the fake Celtic accounts. Like folk make up the fake, and like a fake account announced that Anthony Stokes had rejoined Celtic to go into the squad at the weekend. Kind of, as much as that gave me the fear, like, I kind of thought it's kind of weird that an SPL team. Like, I know he went to Livy, but it's kind of weird that another team didn't come in and take him after that. A team that plays on grass. I think his attitude does make him very, very problematic. Don't get me wrong, but
I think it's for a team that small, is he worth all that trouble? Because he's kind of been a journeyman the last few years.
Because he was. I think was it Hibs he was at a couple of years ago. He was booted out of them for boozing in Portugal.
Aye.
Well, I actually see him in a pub in Dublin a couple of months ago when lockdown was eased, and I just want to say his hair transplant worked very well.
I think we seen him at Edinburgh Airport after coming back from Ibiza. But I was sure
along with Jason Cummins.
I'm sure there was a warrant out for his arrest then. I'm sure if you're in Scotland, you're getting arrested, mate. You better get out of here.
Just before we move on to Sunday's games, the Bonnie Rigro's goalkeeper is called Mark O'Weir.
Which is kind of career.
I don't know, mate. Flash scores doesn't show that much information. He's 29 years old. And he plays in goals.
Well, if there's a championship or above team needing a keeper, get a look at this guy.
To be honest, he'd probably get a start for Celtic right now.
Wouldn't it be difficult, eh?
Right, we'll move on to...
We were actually talking about that in the chat last night. I'm not one to berate Hazard too much, but we'll get to that.
Right, we'll move on to Sunday's games. We'll start off at the Spaghetti Head. Livingston 3, Ross County 1. David Martindale 8 wins from 8, 6 in the league. Where do you start with this, man?
But can I just ask one thing? Who is he?
He's been there for years.
Aye, he's been in the background staff for years.
But how all of a sudden when he's the main man, all of it starting to get a tune?
I said to you in the chat maybe last week or something, I was like, what's his background? Because what is the story that he was in jail? So I've looked into it all now. I'm quite clued up on his ingoings, but he joined Livingston back 15 years ago, just a volunteer for the club, and then somehow he's ended up as a manager 15 years later. He must be doing some dodgy shit.
Was he a footballer or?
He played with Rangers Pro Youth, and then he got caught in some illegal contraband, and pretty much got to jail, came out and played a couple of junior teams, and then just somehow got into volunteering with Livingston, and now I think he became a assistant manager in 2016, and every manager that came in and over him has just kept him on.
How does a con man get into Livy as a volunteer? Surely they were SPL at that time. 2005, they would have been either SPL or the second tier at that time. How the fuck do you get into Livy as a volunteer?
2014, he joined Livingston as a volunteer, part-time, blah, 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 blah.
2014, maybe that's when they had all that.
Background checks. He was in jail for 6.5 years. He actually got offered the job before Kenny Miller got offered it, apparently. Turned it down.
Jeez, I forgot Kenny Miller was
saying.
Mind that.
Where's he now?
That went well.
Kenny Miller.
Bartlett, is he not?
No, if he's in Australia or somewhere. I'm not wasting my time talking about that guy.
Right, we'll move on to him anyway. But David Martindale, what a job he's done.
That is. I mean, I thought Levy would probably be around about the playoff place pre-season, and the start of the season they had that kind of seemed to be quite rather vindicated. But whatever this Martindale's done for being assistant manager to being manager, I mean, it's working an absolute treat. They actually, believe it or not, let's see watching it. I think it was our second goal. They played some beautiful football to score it. I was like, this isn't Livingston at all. I think it was finished by Alan Forrest, James's ball. But aye, I mean it was a kind of tale of two new managers. Ross County's bounce hadn't quite been as successful as Livy's, obviously. Very few new manager bounces up, but I mean, Ross County, they've got a bit of time. We're relying on them to get to at least 11th under yoga to stick Hamilton down. See if it happens. I didn't think they looked great. They looked very, very weak defensively still. So,
how many players do you think he's going to have to bring in? Because I think, as well as Motherwell, Ross County have really struggled for goals this year. I think they've struggled kind of all over the park. Some weeks they look good, some weeks they just look poor.
I mean, all is sure, but he was touted as being one of the best young strikers in Europe a couple of years ago. I don't know who made that call, but the City he missed it one each. I mean, if he scores that, it could be a different game. It's big moments. You need big players, and I don't know how many big players Ross County have, to be honest with you.
I think they'll struggle, to be honest. I've actually just found a notepad that I wrote at the start of the season. I had Livingston to finish 10th at the start of the season, and it was looking good until David Martindale came in and scuppered me.
I mean, I'd have had them a bit of a similar position. Even right at the start, they looked a stick on for going straight down. But
under Gary Holt, we were just kind of under in free fall, similar to the way Motherwell were with Robinson. But obviously, they've made the manager change, and it's worked an absolute treat for them because they're absolutely flying now.
It is amazing what a change of manager can do for a team who's on the downfall, isn't it? It's almost like that's
John Kennedy.
I mean, the SFA haven't even approved David Martindale's fit for purpose yet. I don't know how he actually officially got the job, because I thought you would have to pass that test before, but
is it contract to the end of the season or something?
Was it meant to be someone
like interim manager, but what happens if they say he's no fit for purpose? But what happens if he's no fit for purpose?
That'd be hilarious. It'd be the most Scottish football thing ever if that happened.
100% win. No, you can't manage at this level.
You're no skilled enough.
You'd be standing there as a number 2, just like, here, bring him on. So we'll move on to Livingston and David Martindale, to the Rangers Aberdeen game at the weekend at Pittodrie. And Alfredo Morelos brace makes it 15 wins in a row for Rangers and unbeaten in the league. Any news what I talk about it?
The 12 men of Rangers did well at the weekend. You know, your man had a great time giving you those spot kicks. That has to be said. Both debatable in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Both. It wasn't even two.
Did they get 2 penalties?
No, it was the second. What was the second one? The second one I sent it off. Aye, no.
It was the same incident.
Was it?
It was all the same thing.
I was arguing about it so much, I was furious.
I hope you've enjoyed Truffles on this week's show. It'll be like his last show.
This is why he's not allowed on.
Anyway, it wasn't a penalty, it wasn't a red card.
Aye, that's obviously the talking points of the game. Hedges penalty. We'll start off by asking, is it a penalty? What do you think, McCann?
I'm going to get folk calling me biased in that here. I actually really didn't think it was, but I can. It's always going to get given if a striker's run through and goal and goes down. It's always going to get given, but I've kind of I actually turned the game off as soon as that got given. I thought, I can't watch this being 10 against 11. It's going to finish 4-0 or something. So I stopped watching it, but I watched the highlights again before we came on just to be able to give some kind of thing on it. But I've watched the penalty decision about 4 or 5 times trying to see a bit of contact, and I honestly can't see a bit of contact for Hedges. I do think Morelos trips there himself.
Nah, no chance. Hedges is his hands all over his back and then his left leg trips Morelos' leg.
The hand's there. I'll give you that. The hand is there. Floyd's tried to make the case for, but I don't think the hand's enough to justify giving a penalty. Because I looked at the legs, tried to watch it 4 or 5 times to see. I don't think he clips him.
McCann, you're justifying this far too much. I've just watched it again to be sure. The hand is like a brief tap on the side. It's not enough to send a.
Look at that contact.
So you're not allowed to touch anyone in football. You're not allowed to touch anyone in football. Tough. I can see he's got his hand in his hand. He could be dancing there.
His foot.
What contact?
You can see I still. Well, watch it in real time. I don't think he clips him. But I think it was given. It was always going to get given.
Nah.
You're going to take off
your
soft tonight.
It's not soft. It's actually a blatant dive in the box. It shouldn't be a red. It should be a penalty. And Morelos should be booked for simulation. I
wouldn't agree that it's a dive, but
nah.
I think he trips there himself, to be honest.
But see if it is a penalty, why is it a sending off? Because I thought it was double jeopardy rule.
It's definitely not a sending off because I don't think that's meant to be the case. I don't think double punishment's a thing anymore, as far as I'm led to believe, but could be wrong.
I don't know if you've heard Derek McInnes's interview after the game, but he said that he was talking to Beaton after the game or at half time, whatever, and Beaton actually convinced him that it was a red card, and Derek McInnes came out and said, "Aye, fair enough." And I don't know if that's just what he's saying to the media or if that's really what he's thinking.
Because they're having a pint in the Bristol bar together.
Listen. Right, it's nothing to do with why Rangers are as far ahead as Celtic as they are. The penalty thing is a joke. In this specific incident with this specific penalty, it's absolutely criminal that it got given. I'm sorry. There's
if that wasn't given, Celtic would have won the 10.
There's actually no given. There's no sending off because there's no right. So Chris Newland's saying it's a sending off because there's no attempt to play the ball. There's no attempt to make a challenge. He's running.
There's no attempt to play.
Alongside him. There's no attempt to do anything apart.
Where's he running to then? Ice cream van.
Obviously, he's running to him, Chrissy, but he's no attempted to make the challenge yet, and he's no made contact apart from a brief graze of his hip with his hand.
Well, I agree to disagree. I thought it was a penalty all day. I thought the red card and the double punishment rule was harsh. But I think one that kind of made up for it was his decision not to send off Curtis Main after that one, after he goes flying in.
I've got a lot of time for Curtis Main after
that. You can't defend that one.
That was a bit of a wild chat. To be honest, I never seen that until an hour or two ago when I watched the game back. That was pretty wild. He's quite embarrassing. Barisic is quite lucky to get his leg up today, to be honest.
The SPFL YouTube.
This is the one.
What did you say, sorry?
What do you watch the games back on, right? Because I watched it on the SPFL YouTube, right?
I watched it now. Can't go sports.
And you can hear McGregor shouting absolute abuse at Beacon.
Right, this is the one I thought about, and with this one I was being a stupid, bitter Celtic fan because this should have been a red, and I assumed it was a red card, which is why I was confused about it.
To be honest, I think if Aberdeen already down to 10 men, I think it is a red card. Can you justify no giving it because they're down to 10 men? I don't know, but
I think
it was a bit of a shocker.
It was a wild and dangerous challenge. I think McInnes take Main off soon after it. So that kind of tells you all you need to know about the challenge. It was a wild challenge. So.
Aye. I mean, I think it's justified. Like, the foot's no higher than the other guy's foot. You know what I mean? I've made plenty of those challenges at fives myself, usually due to lack of pace rather than, he's a pro footballer. He should be able to probably do better. I don't think it's the worst challenge I've ever seen, but I'd probably give it a red.
I mean, if
Like,
Barisic gets his leg out the way, if Barisic doesn't get his leg out the way, it looks a lot worse. Well, in fact, no, it looks like the challenge it is, but the fact Barisic just got his leg out the way kind of makes it look a bit better than it actually is. It's a wild way to go in for a challenge.
I mean, I've not got a great history. I go down
Rangers challenge.
but I just think
I've not got a great one myself, to be honest with you.
I think it was a red card every day. I thought the standouts were Steve Davis, Brian Kent obviously getting 2 assists, and obviously Morelos getting 2 goals. But I thought, even until the penalty, I thought Rangers played brilliant. And I was a wee bit worried about Rangers' performance, especially after how dominant Celtic were last week. I didn't know if it was going to kind of be in the minds or whatever, but I thought Rangers for the off were just brilliant.
I mean, Aberdeen the first minute or two get the kind of opening McCaws goal, but then after that, to what I've seen, they never really had a sniff. Certainly in the first 20 minutes, half an hour, whenever the penalty was gone.
What's the deal with Steve Davis this season? Because anytime I've seen recently Steve Davis against Celtic, I've not been that impressed, to be honest with you. But Rangers fans always
Davis against Celtic in the second half was absolutely tremendous.
Rangers fans seem to always highly rate him, and I think, he's playing at a decent level for the age he is. You know what I mean? And to be honest, looks a bit better than Brown.
He's better than Brown. Brown's sitting on the bench with a Bovril.
Aye. To be fair, but it's just interesting because I've never, just in recent history, I've not really rated him highly. He's playing against Celtic, but Rangers fans always seem to go on about him as one of the best players on the team.
No, I've always thought Davis was a good player, to be honest with you. Even when he was down south at Southampton, I rated him quite highly. He's obviously not as good as he once was, being 35, 36, whatever he is.
36, aye.
He's still the kind of guy that will do. He'll not do your turn every game, but certain games he'll do your turn. I think obviously Jack and Arfield being out there now, Davis' form might suffer a wee bit for playing game upon game unless they bring this Sungu guy in. I don't know if he's any good or not, but
not seen enough of him to rate him, to be honest. But I think Davis, is probably the best passer of the ball Rangers have got. Sned kind of showed us that start a couple of weeks ago. Don't know how true it was because Sned sent us it, but it was shown that Ryan Jack and Stephen Davis had the most amount of passes into the final third for MD and SPFL over the last God knows how many games or whatever, but it doesn't surprise me. So Truffles,
doesn't surprise me. I mean, Celtic have never had that this season since Sorrell came into the team, to be honest. Somebody to break up play and get balls up the park quickly into the final third. Sorrell is good at that, but we've not had that up until he's come into the team in the last month or so.
Right, we'll move on to Celtic anyway. We'll start off by covering a little bit of a holiday that they had to Dubai. Where do we start? What are we calling it? A break, a training camp, R&R, what you want to call it?
Well, after the news came out yesterday, I'm just calling it a jolly up because that's clearly what it was. I mean, you're calling it high intensity training all there. Why is a guy who has just been ruled out for 3 or 4 months? Why is he on the plane? I mean, is it unfortunate that the guy that's injured is the one that gets COVID? Possibly, but in fact, no, it's not, because he shouldn't be there. I mean, we should be taking as little as we can. In fact, right, we shouldn't be going out of there, right, for a start.
Yeah.
But when we're over there, we should be taking a maximum of 18 bodies, maybe. We shouldn't be taking guys that are out for the next 3 or 4 months who won't get any benefit for warm weather training either.
Aye.
So, obviously, you've seen the kind of odd photo that surfaced of Brown and Laring, and then I think another one of them in some kind of boozer. But it's just kind of the fact that Chris Jones came back and been the one that's caught COVID, it's totally vindicated that it's been a pure jolly up. And they're really not. They're not helping themselves with what they come out and say. Oh, we could have caught it in Scotland. We've been in Scotland all season, and not one Celtic player has caught it in the Celtic bubble. All right, we've had Edouard catch it when he's been away with France. We've had Turnbull catch it when he's been away with Scotland. But in the Celtic bubble, we've not had one player catch it until we've went to Dubai. Could it have happened in Scotland? Absolutely. But it's the point in principle. It shouldn't have happened.
It's the irony of them all complaining, especially Lennon complaining about international fixtures back in November, and then they're sauntering off to Dubai in January, and then all this happens. You've got 13 first-team players out isolating, you've not got your manager, you've not got your assistant, you've got bloody Pete Vijayke in the dugout.
It's just the latest episode that let's take the piss out of the fans that have paid money to watch Celtic on a shitey stream all season.
I think
let's just see how much more we can rip the piss out of them. Let's use their money and let's go for a jolly up in Dubai.
Like, it's indicative of the way the board and management have treated the fans this season. Like, McCann's completely right. Like, I'll put my cards on the table because I've only been, editing these episodes, so I've got to voice my thoughts on this. But I thought Lennon should have went after the first Old Firm game of the season. And I was getting shouted down then about that. But hindsight's a beautiful thing. And I think the longer it's went on, and the fact that the board has allowed Celtic to sink into mediocrity from the position that we've been in the last couple of seasons is nothing more or nothing less than a disgrace. And with this trip to Dubai specifically, I think Celtic have proved how out of touch with their fan base they are. Would a trip to Dubai have been good for the team? Absolutely. It'd be good for all of us. I'd love a trip to Dubai right now. You kidding me on? But if you're looking at the state of the world, you're looking at the state of your fans, and you think it's acceptable.
The state of your fans, steady, isn't it?
We're on lockdown, we are suffering, and we've just had that defeat to Rangers. The last thing that your fans want to see is you off to Dubai. And Scott Brown, I think, he came out and he said, well, I'm allowed a pint every once and so often, responding to that picture of him and Lennon and the Sun Loungers. But you need to understand.
That's just a pure PR statement. Nobody has said a footballer isn't allowed to sit with a beer after a game on a Saturday or that, but bloody choose your moments. Like, you've just been beat by Rangers. The league's absolutely categorically finished. That night you head to Dubai, the next day there's photos of you having a jolly up. Like, pick and choose your moments, man.
And it shows how deep the problem is at Celtic, because that trip wasn't just Neil Lennon telling the boys to get in a plane. You can't blame Lennon for that. You blame the management of the club, like, to the very highest degree, for allowing that to continue and for allowing a lot of the activity that's happened this season to continue. And I couldn't help but laugh seeing Gavin Strachan in the dugout, because seeing Gavin Strachan in the dugout, it was the picture of Celtic's season. That just summed it up. I half expected him to get his laptop out. I didn't think he'd be able to speak without the aid of a computer of some kind. The man's so much in his technology, but at the end of the day, I think it just shows how badly Celtic need a remodelling from the ground up if we're to contend next season and to stop this decline from continuing.
You've went into depth there. Obviously, we all heard Andy Walker's analogy of it yesterday about no other team in Europe. I don't know how true that is, but let's just go with Britain. At least no other top team in Britain, whether it be in the Premier League or the SPL, have went on these takes a break. So it's just naivety.
It's completely embarrassing. It's completely and utterly embarrassing.
Andy Walker for once has got something right in his life, to be fair with that one. How that I'll never know.
All the German teams during the winter break go over to Dubai for hot weather training camps, and they turned around this year and went, nah, it's not the right time for us. We've went over for bloody 6 days and made an absolute rolling arse of it. It's just an absolute joke. And the fact that we're trying to turn around and say that, we could be okay back in November. Bloody November, when everyone was still quite high, but nothing like it is now. And they're still turning around and says, we get told we could go. I just don't get how someone
just for me, whoever rubber stamped and sanctioned that trip should have had his jotters yesterday. When all this came out, his jotters should have been handed to him. It's obviously Peter Lawwell. I mean, Peter Lawwell's everything goes through him. He's the one that's rubber stamped this. But the guy's got too much of a fucking brass neck to admit any responsibility for it.
Well, that's the thing.
Even that statement yesterday. How insulting was that statement yesterday?
It's every statement. It's the statement after the Lennon protests at Parkhead. It's the statement from all season has been a joke. It's not just Dubai. He's shown utter contempt for the Celtic fan base from the day one this season. From day fucking one. And it's so frustrating to watch.
The very fact we're 21 points behind and still have the same guy that started the season in the dugout says everything.
And look,
about the standards of the football club.
Yeah, like this, like we were going for 10 in a row, and I feel like we've numbed ourselves to that fact. The history
wee
we've
asterisks.
completely thrown. Shut up. The history we've completely thrown away this season. You know, because you can't think about it, and the fact that no one at the club seems to care at the upper level. You know, like I said, there's a complete disconnect. And it sounds pure cliche to say sack the board, but what else are you going to do when the board can't make competent decisions? And even a basis as simple as not going to a foreign country during a worldwide fucking pandemic for a booze.
I was trying to jump in there. See, when I was sharing this podcast, obviously tonight on Instagram, I went on the Full Time Football Instagram, and I seen an old episode we done, and it was about Bolingoli going on that trip. And see when you think back, that was only a couple of months ago.
Bolingoli will be laughing his head after now.
Bolingoli's not allowed to play for Celtic again. He's looking at this team going off to Dubai.
Bolingoli will be laughing his head after now. He's went away. He's played Champions League football off the back of this year. Avoided an absolute car crash of a season at Celtic, and Celtic have been away and had their own car crash.
It's amazing to think
there's one winner for Celtic this season. It's bloody Bolingoli.
It's amazing to think that happened this year. Like that is utterly absurd.
Didn't they, mate? We're in 2021.
You know what I mean? This footballing year.
This season.
Clowns. Anyway, what's the next story?
Still Celtic, mate. Last night, Celtic.
Oh, fuck off.
Cameron Harper obviously made his debut. Stephen Welsh started the first game since he was pulled off at half-time against AC Milan, and Mikey Johnson, couldn't even tell you the last time I heard him start a game. So it was definitely an undertrained Celtic team. But did you think for the starting lineup, with everything in the back of your mind, do you think that was a strong enough Celtic team to get the 3 points?
Oh, aye, it should have been. Absolutely should have been. But obviously, I think who was it? They wheeled a couple of them in front of the media before the game, said, "Oh, but we just need to put it all at the back of our mind." And there's absolutely no chance that was going to be at the back of their mind going into that game last night. I mean, you're throwing Cammy Harper in. I don't know at what moment Cammy Harper would have known he's starting. I would be very surprised if he knew before yesterday that he was playing. Yes, he struggled, but I've got sympathy for him. Stephen Welsh, I thought, actually played very well, to be honest with you. I thought he was probably the standout Celtic performer on the night. But the whole game, I mean, I think Sky must have pulled in record viewers for the amount of fans for this Govan side that were watching last night. Because I've seen just as many of them talking about the games I've seen our own fans, but I think the game was just exactly how I was expecting it to go. I was expecting it to be a tough watch, turgid, very, very slow tempo, and it was like it was a very, very poor quality game last night. And I think Hibs added to that. To be honest, I don't think Hibs played great at all. Hibs will really see that as an opportunity missed, I think.
I think their keeper played like I heard that's their first choice keeper actually.
No, I don't. They've just signed him for Arsenal.
They've just signed him.
Yeah, but he played quite well.
I think he was.
Mate, you're going to come on this show again. You need to get your facts sorted.
Well, I don't need to get any facts sorted.
The boy just signed. It's his debut.
I'm here as the shit panelist. I'm here to just make sure it's
he was playing with Kieran Tierney last week.
I mean, he played all right. I mean, most of his saves you'd probably expect a decent keeper to make. Celtic never really created many clear cuts. The one with Cammy Harper that he should pull back. Aye, but again, it's a young guy. He sees his name in lights. You can kind of have sympathy with it. But it was a very, very, very poor tempo game.
Tough, I will say, like, there were some positives. Like, you mentioned Mikey Johnson not knowing the last time he started. Like, that's mostly just because of injury. You know, he's just coming off an injury, and I was happy to see him back in the team. And I do think he tried to create things at times that I thought he had a bit of a spark about him, clearly trying to prove himself, taking folk on.
I don't think he had his best game, but he didn't hide.
Aye.
No, exactly. And we brought him up earlier, wee Sorrow. is exactly the type of player I think we need. I think he needs to try and hide it a bit better because I think he's going to get a reputation with referees soon. Like I've seen a lot of Rangers fans complaining he should have been booked earlier in the Old Firm, and arguably you might have said the same thing in the last night. But I think it's the type of player we've been needing, who will get about players in the middle of the park and put in those challenges and try and upset the game. And that way, so I was happy.
Even with Soren, probably Turnbull and all, we'll get into the moment of brilliance he had, but I think probably the two of them had probably their weakest game in a Celtic jersey since they've come in. I don't think any of them really. There wasn't really, apart from Turnbull at that moment, there wasn't really any Celtic player that really took the game by the scruff of the neck. And it's not really the two you're looking at. It's kind of more your McGregor, Rogic, Duffy. But I know that last name I've used is just wild, right?
Did you see the tweet?
It's these experienced guys that you're needing to really pull yourself through a kind of turgid game like that. And I thought McGregor with the captain's armband, I don't like to say it, but I thought he was absolutely invisible last night.
The game totally passed him by. Between him and Laxell, I think they're the two that had probably the worst games.
I mean, Laxell, I've been I thought he was excellent when he first came in. Then since then, he's kind of flattered to deceive. And now I'm looking at him thinking, I can't believe you've played with AC Milan. He's a dig. He gets in, he digs. He's good in the tackle, but positionally and his game awareness is terrible.
I think we've all tried to give.
What's that? Sorry.
In positionally, he's poor. So, would you push him up and play him left mid? Because did they not play left mid with AC Milan?
Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. His final ball is one of the worst I've ever seen.
Him and Frimpong have got that in common. They're two good athletes. They've got pace.
It's exactly as I go back to the game last week. The amount of times we had opportunities to get a decent ball in the box with them two, and I don't think we got one decent delivery into the box that whole game.
Yeah,
I actually thought, seeing the first half, there was a few crosses that Tavernier blocked, and I made up. I don't know if I put it in our chat, but I said it to the Rangers boys, how many times have you said after an Old Firm that Tavernier defended excellent?
Yeah.
So I think he did try and put a few balls in, but I thought Tavernier just had him in his back pocket.
I do have to say,
the Hibs game, obviously.
I think, to be honest, Celtic fans have tried to give Cal McGregor the benefit of the doubt all season, because he has been such a loyal servant. But what we're talking about, Cal McGregor going missing in the Hibs game, that's been nothing new. That's been Cal McGregor all year hiding and not really doing anything. And I do genuinely believe that he hasn't been dropped enough from the team. I don't think that he's the player he was last season, 2 seasons ago. Who do you bring in to replace him?
He's not being coached anywhere near as well. That's the issue. The level of professionalism at Celtic right now is barely professional.
Do you think he's playing in the right position, but do you think this kind of number 6 role is his destined position, or do you think he would be better off further up, maybe a 10?
Well, I think he's been playing kind of more as a number 8, because obviously you've got Sorrell right very deep, collecting the ball off the defence, but number 8 I think should be Cal McGregor's best position, a box-to-box midfielder.
See, I do think Toff has a point last night, because the best bits of Cal McGregor that I seen last night were when he was in that final third of the park and he was trying to run, at defenders, at midfielders, trying to get by them. I think we forget that he can be that type of player, but so often he sits, like you say, Toff, sits too far back. It doesn't really influence the game. He doesn't influence the game defensively enough, I don't think. I don't think he makes enough penetrative passes. His passes are nothing special. There doesn't seem to be inventiveness from him in that area of the pitch. So I wouldn't mind seeing him play a bit further up, but I do think this is an ongoing issue with Callum McGregor. It's not isolated to the Hibs game, and you could say that about most of the Celtic team this season, but McGregor's one that constantly I've noticed is underperforming, and it probably goes back to what McCann's saying. It goes to the bigger issues at the club.
What about David Turnbull free kick? But
I mean, David Turnbull's probably been the only bright spark of Celtic season at the minute. It's incredible to think that he wasn't playing up until maybe the Lille game, I think, was the first game he really came in.
Aye.
I mean, him and Sorrell almost as much, but Turnbull especially. Turnbull's technical abilities, I can't believe he's a Scottish football player. His technical
He's
ability
frightening.
is just unbelievable.
See that?
I think we've got him for 2 years, and then I think he goes on. But he's such a talent, Turnbull. But that free
he's a
kick
joke.
was just, if that free kick sums up the last kind of month and a half he's had. Absolutely exquisite. Should have been the moment to get Celtic out of jail in what was a turgid game. We'll obviously get on to the fact that wasn't it, but
Yeah.
But I mean,
Aye,
that's
Tom,
what you need in games like that. A game that very little chances, very little really happening, and then just a moment of absolute brilliance. It's the kind of thing we used to have under Strachan with Nakamura. The amount of times a Nakamura free kick would puck you out of a dodgy situation.
A Strachan on the bench, a free kick to get us ahead in the game. Oh, it was like 06, 07.
That's sad. I didn't even think that we actually had a Strachan on the bench as well.
No, I agree.
Another point Ed's not on the night as well, but he made a point about Conor Hazard last night. What did you think of his performance? Obviously, the goal, if you isolate that scenario,
I thought
he
was very good until the goal up. The goals really annoyed me. The goal kind of shows that he's too weak in these situations because he's had 3 of them now in the last, I'm going to say 3 games he's played. I think Scottish Cup was 2 games ago he played. But he's no good enough in these situations. A goalkeeper has to be more commanding there. And he's got time to improve on it, but does he have to go elsewhere and develop that before becoming Celtic number 1? Possibly. I
don't think it'll ever be Celtic number 1.
I don't know if I'm rushing to get Barkas back in because, I mean, the guy's just been rubbish, let's be honest. There's so many Celtic fans that seem to get offended when you merely suggest the fact that Barkas hasn't lived up to his price tag. I don't think there's any argument he hasn't, but
aye.
I mean, we're kind of talk. We've always had 3 goalies playing on this season, which is a problem, and that speaks volumes in itself. The fact that you've had 3 goalies all getting a run in the team, but none of them have really made a compelling case to be number 1 for me.
None of them are frankly good enough. Like Scott Bain is floundered any time he's been given an opportunity to be the first team goalie at Celtic. And Conor Hazard, like, he's got age in his side. You need to give him that. You know what I mean? Like you said, McCann does have time to improve.
He's got age in his side, but he's also not that young. He's about the same age as us.
Aye.
He's 22, 23, so...
Aye, keepers can play longer, you know. Like, I'm trying to give him a benefit of the doubt, but you're right. Like, the mistakes we've been making have been sort of inexcusable. And Barkas...
The shot stop last night was good. I'll give him that.
Aye,
but a couple of moments where a couple of decent saves.
But yeah, again, it's
another score with a couple of decent saves. I don't think there was any clear-cut chances created in the game, to be honest. But
again, it's a situation where, in normal terms, he wouldn't be playing, and he's been thrusted in yet again into the firing line because of this time it's due to COVID by the looks of it, but other times it was goalkeeping mistakes and the goalkeeping quality across the squad. Your third choice keeper shouldn't be getting drafted in when you've spent 5 odd million in a goalie in the summer.
Yeah.
It's just the bottom line.
No.
It's a shambles. But it's one of many shambles in that club right now.
And I think that's the thing because they've categorically said we're not going to get another keeper in the transfer window. And to an extent, I get it. But at the same time, we've got 3 goalies who have proven they are not good enough. They're quite frankly not good enough for Celtic. So what are we going to do? Out of the 3, who do you pick? Like, who is your first choice out of those 3? Because
for me, it has to be Barkas just off the basis of the money you've paid.
But is that enough?
The fact that it's just off the basis of the money you've paid is a problem in itself. But I mean, there's no way Barkas can be as bad as what he's shown. There's no way he was signed off the back of what he's shown.
At what point do you accept, though, that it might be? At what point do you just accept that? Because
Rangers are going for 10 in a row.
I'd say Barkas' worst performance is worse than Hazard's. I'd probably keep giving Hazard the opportunity for better or for worse, because Barkas in that early stage of the season, he was like a meme. People forget he was basically a meme, you know, for all our issues at the start, you know, and to be fair, he was playing that Shane Duffy was getting more of a run in the team at that point. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg sort of thing? You know, who was the real issue there in that defensive line? But
if kind of Duffy and Barkas both kind of have the same trait. See, even when they have games where either they've not got a lot to do or they seem to be playing all right, they always have that one moment. Like Duffy last night.
Aye.
All right, Hazard should be dealing with it anyway, but when it's on the line, Duffy just slaps at the ball, gives it right to Kevin Nisbet. Kevin Nisbet for there is never missing.
Well, that was a tweet I seen. It was like, for a no-nonsense defender, Duffy gets himself involved in a lot of nonsense, and it's the case. We signed Duffy to be that guy, just to punt the ball out the stand, you know, when we're in danger, just complete no-nonsense. And he's shown that he's not that. He can't keep up with the pace, and I don't know what it is. Because again, it goes back to Barkas. Like, we'd heard so much about Shane Duffy. You know, people were genuinely buzzing when Shane Duffy was brought in and signed. Like, I don't understand how he's not performing at least a decent level, you know?
See, on that point, let's just take the fact that we're Rangers and Celtic fans. See, when people like Joey Barton and Shane Duffy come up to Scotland, and they fail to perform at that level, I think that's fucking hilarious. Like, there's hundreds of boys in my work, obviously. I'm in Ireland, and they were all saying when Shane Duffy came to Celtic, he's going to be one of the best players in that league.
Well, to be honest, Shane Duffy was the man I wanted. Like, I've been moaning this week about, or grudging the fact that American boy went to Genk. But see, to be honest, in the summer when it was kind of, we've either got this guy or that guy, it was Shane Duffy I wanted. Like, I can't deny that. Like, I thought Shane Duffy would have been the man for Celtic, but a couple had decent enough games to begin with, and then very quickly realised, wait a minute, this guy's no performing for us here.
Aye.
I know he's had a lot of personal trauma in the last year, which might have something to do with it. I'm not sure. You can't take that away from him, but I mean, he's struggled at Celtic. That's the bottom line.
Aye, I get the point Toss making. Who was the guy who was getting a lot of stick for his comments and if Celtic and Rangers went to the Premier League and all that last week? Jamie O'Hara. Aye, it's opinions like that one that you know, these English pundits just talk all the shite, you know, because it's like they'll farm a proven time and time again that they are able to hang at that level. They seem to take money out as a factor. These are two of the most supported clubs in the UK. You know,
mate, he was talking about Dembele at Fulham the other day. Dembele's close to signing with Atletico Madrid.
Aye, exactly. They just seem
that's just his argument in a nutshell.
Aye.
They present evidence that doesn't actually match up, you know. And Toff, you're right. You look at these players who come up from England. You know, you can even go back to Robbie Keane's lacklustre run at Celtic. You know, and it shows that.
I think that's a bit harsh on Robbie Keane. To be honest, Robbie Keane came in at a very tough time and scored a lot of goals.
A lacklustre run at Celtic for Robbie Keane. You look at Joey Barton. You look at.
You could maybe say Roy Keane. Aye.
Roy Keane against Clyde. What a debut.
Roy Keane at Ibrox, but still watch that.
Aye.
What a display, man. one hip and pocketed Barry Ferguson. Thank you.
Did I say Roy Keane at Clyde?
Aye, but the point I'm making is fuck English football.
Aye, so have you got anything else to add on the Celtic Hibs game before we talk about your transfer aspirations?
Standard.
One last time, Kevin Nisbet got to be in the Scotland squad for the Euros.
100%.
Absolutely got to be.
Aye.
And ahead of Shankland, ahead of McBurney, ahead of all of them. Like, he should be going there and he should be starting for me.
I think with the system Scotland plays well, he's just perfectly suited for Dykes. Seeing you see him playing up top,
absolutely.
Last night, but it's big guy, small guy.
Completely agree with that. Aye, absolutely. I can't believe he's not been called up before now, but I think it's a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time. Aye, 100%.
He was linked with Sunderland last week. I don't know how much truth there is in that, but I hope he doesn't get that move because I think he's better than that, to be honest.
I seen him linked with Sheffield United. Obviously, they won just before we came on the night, but I think they're stick-ons for relegation, didn't they? So I don't know how fruitful a move that would be if he's got aspirations of playing in the English Championship. he might have to go down that route if he's wanting to go down south, but I think he's better than that.
Aye, so we'll just move on to the transfer window then. It's obviously open until the 1st of February. You mentioned there, Truffles, about Celtic not going to be doing any business for a goalkeeper, but what business do you think Celtic will look to do? And I'm going to probably suggest that you're going to say centre half.
Probably nothing, tough, to be honest with you.
That's what I was going to say, no?
I mean...
So do you not think you need to get centre back coverage for
the fact last week, Benkovic was recalled for Cardiff by Leicester, and I have it in very, very good authority. I'm not gonna reveal my sources, but I'm going to be one of these folk now that say I had it in very, very good authority that Benkovic was desperate to get back to Celtic. Can't reveal my sources.
So desperate that where is he actually went away? Is it Belgium? Leaving or something?
Some Belgian team that Leicester have connections with, but that's an opportunity missed for me. The fact that Brendan Rodgers himself has come out in the media and said it would be a great move for Philip to go back up to Celtic, but we've basically had an open goal to sign him.
Aye.
Yeah, again, we've missed.
I think
a lot of people on Twitter talking about Declan Gallagher as well. But him, is he somebody you would invest the money in now, or would you?
I actually like Declan Gallagher as a player, but I don't know. I don't know what makes me think he's just not at that level, because I thought that when he played for Scotland and he was probably the best player in the park that night. But I don't know. I just don't know, to be honest about him.
I know.
I don't know if he can make. Well, saying that, I mean, how much of a big jump is it now? Because Celtic are only in one competition now, and they're only competing in the league as well. So, they're not competing for first place, but they're only so. I don't know if it's a signing that would overly excite me, to be honest.
And do you think he would get the opportunity? Like, think how long it took Turnbull to get in the team when people were crying out for it. You know what I mean? It could be the same situation.
I think Gallagher would come in and play to begin with. Duffy. I don't know how many more opportunities Duffy's going to get between now and the end of the season. It kind of seems as if he's kind of fallen a wee bit out of favour. I know he played last night, but obviously you've got Beaton. To be honest, was normally very consistent when he played centre half before this season, but I think he's been very erratic this season. Joey, obviously, Ayer probably been our best player this season, but I don't think he would. I don't think he would struggle to get a run of games, to be honest with you. I think he would come in and play, but I just don't know if it would excite me, to be honest.
Torres, is there anything that would excite you? Any position you think you need to go and strengthen now rather than wait till the summer?
Nah. To be honest, you're looking at a centre half and a goalie. We've already been ruled out of a goalie by the looks of it. So all you can do is get a centre half to replace the injured Julian. But who do you go for? You're offered Benkovic, and that slipped through your fingers. Gallagher, as McCann says, no an exciting signing, but he knows the league and he'd probably do better than Duffy in that would. But again, it's a different style of play. Could suffer the same fate.
I think the very fact we're talking about the potential of Gallagher coming in and playing for Celtic kind of shows where Celtic are at now, to be honest.
And I think it shows like the Gallagher's the only name in our lips, because I don't actually trust that they'll get anyone, like you said at the start, McCann. I'm resigned.
It's got to that point. I've seen folk calling for Jack Hendry to be recalled. I mean,
that's
I know.
That can't be over it.
People have short memory spans when it comes to players like that. Like, it seems like we're
Jack Hendry and Shane Duffy. What a duo that would be.
I remember being at Firth Hill when that Benny Hill run happened.
Aye, it's a joke. But Celtic probably won't. Tough, do you think Rangers will do any business?
I'll say one last thing. I would like to sign a right winger, but I don't think we will. We've been kind of touted with interest in the boy for QPR, I think, or Samuel or something like that. But whether that happens or not, probably not. I'm not very confident of getting him there this January. would really surprise me if we're really active in the transfer limit.
Do you think if we don't get anyone in, that kind of gives us an insight into Lennon knows being there in the end of the season?
Surely he's not
Can
there
he be?
next season. I mean,
Can he be?
it's taking the piss enough that he's going to be there at the end of the season. If he's there next season, there'll be pitchforks at Celtic Park.
Leading the charge.
So like that, the Simpsons movie.
Aye.
Exactly.
Upsell Marge Simpson up Celtic way.
You
there.
can't be
That's the thing. The Celtic board are going to have to contend with very soon, Mark. Because I think it was March last year the season ticket renewal started on it. They've got a couple of months, and then I've already seen a lot of folks saying that they've got no intention to renew next season. We could be back to talking about a 30,000 folk in Parkhead whenever such a time comes that we can get back into Parkhead.
Well, you two renew.
I'll renew because I enjoy going to the football on a Saturday afternoon.
Aye.
But I'll grudge renewing and I'll grudge getting them money. But the fact that I enjoy going to football, I've missed it dreadfully this year. I will renew, but
I know it's been
I'll absolutely grudge getting them the money.
Top 4 Rangers do any business?
Aye, well, this one going about the news and Scott Wright in it doesn't really impress me
That's
either.
a weird one.
It's the same kind of level as Declan Gallagher, probably worse to be honest, because if you're looking at Aberdeen's squad, if Rangers are signing players for Aberdeen, I'm wanting them to sign Aberdeen's best player, which are probably looking at Lewis Ferguson. Whether that's a player Rangers need right now, I'd probably say probably not. But Scott Wright's not even Aberdeen's best winger. Like Ryan Hedges is probably better than him. I think he's in the kind of cost-efficient answer to maybe Brandon Barker leaving this window or Jordan Jones.
Still quite young, isn't he? What is he, 21?
23, aye. But
is he 23? I thought he was
23, aye.
That's old. I'm nearly 24 myself, but
I don't remember he's ever lighting up the league or anything like that, so I don't know. I don't really know too much about him, but it wouldn't really get my tail wagging.
I think he's always been one that's kind of been touted as one of the next kind of up-and-coming players for Aberdeen. He's suffered a lot with injuries, but if he's getting a run of games, and I don't know. I don't know enough about him this season, to be honest.
They were saying kind of he's a very versatile across front three. He can kind of play in any of these front three positions, but he just seems to be seen. He's the same mould as Brandon Barker, Jordan Jones, Greg Stewart, Glenn Middleton. He's not really better than any of them, I don't think. And I said last week in the chat as well, you've got a young player, Kai Kennedy, that's another Scottish boy that was linked with Bayern Munich. You don't know the truth about half of these rumours, but I don't understand how this boy can't get a chance over Brandon Barker, Jordan Jones, Greg Stewart and Glenn Middleton. Like, there was games a couple of weeks ago, Rangers were beating Hamilton 8-0, and he's...
I'm just going to say that now, my sound's away, by the way. I can't hear these. Don't know if you can hear me, but
so I think the cost-efficient answer to Scott Wright is to save the money and don't even invest in Scott Wright and just give Kai Kennedy or somebody else in the youth system a chance, because that's something for the last couple of years that Rangers have never really done, is give their youth players a chance.
What happened to that boy Middleton?
Well, he's still back into the youth systems now, and he scores goals pretty much every week for under 23s, but
I thought he's away on loan.
Like him. No, well, I think Hibs sent him back last year.
I think he had a nuke at Hibs, didn't he?
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that impressed me. I think the one position Rangers should look to improve would be like a number 8. I think Scott Arfield is the only real Rangers player that fills that number 8 role. Got plenty of sixes. Zungu seems to have come in as a number 6. Not really the position we need. Probably depends on outgoings more than incomings. I hope they keep the full squad together. I can't really see anyone leaving, to be honest, with the potential of a title. A lot of the teams that have been linked with players like Lynn Kamara and stuff like that, it'd be his last chance to ever win a medal if Rangers win the league this year, so I don't think he would leave. So I think mainly just need to find a number 8. Couldn't pluck a number 8 out of my head. If Celtic want to give up David Turnbull, but I'd happily take him off your hands.
Nah, you're alright, mate.
I think Turnbull's maybe a 10 anyway. I prefer him further up the pot.
Moving on to other clubs, but today McCann put in the chat about 2 hours ago, Jackson Irvine has joined Hibernian, 27-year-old Australian international. Good signing.
I think that's an excellent signing.
Very good player.
I'm surprised he's not at a club up to now. I don't know if he's been riddled with injuries the last year or so, but it was a player I fancied to end up in the Premier League for where he was, but I suppose he's back in some kind of Premier League, but no, not the Premier League I was thinking he would end up at. But I think it could prove to be an excellent signing for Hibs. International player, 45 caps or something for Australia. Plenty of experience of playing in Scotland. To be honest, back when he was at Celtic, I fancied him to make it at Celtic. It just obviously never quite worked out for him in the end, but plenty of experience of the Scottish game. Experience down south. Very, very good player for the level he's going to. So I think Hibs have done a really good bit of business.
I think he walks straight into that Hibs team.
I think
good player.
Behind Joe Newell and Jackson Irvine is a very, very strong midfield three.
I would agree with you. I actually like that Joe Newell. I think he's very, very tidy on the ball. If his range of passing was a wee bit better, I think he'd be at a better level, but he's very, very good on the ball.
Yeah, I like him. He's got a good bit of flair about him. Matt Macy was obviously another one that came into Hibs, made his debut last night. We kind of spoke about him. Staying in Edinburgh, a move that I thought was very weird. Gary Mackay-Steven going to Hearts.
That was kind of bolt out the blue and all, wasn't it? I didn't really see that one. Especially Gary Mackay-Steven playing in the Scottish Championship should be illegal. What?
That's a joke.
My only question would be is that surely Aberdeen would have been his preferred option, but
Aberdeen went in for him and he chose to go to Hearts. I don't know what the story is behind it, but
it's 2 players now that have apparently turned down Aberdeen because he can't give him the money. Well, they Brophy and now Gary Mackay Friesen. But
there's no rivers in Edinburgh, I don't think.
straight in the North Sea.
I just think that's a tremendous talent to be playing in the Scottish Championship.
That's a joke. He'll do well for him, and I think that's more.
What was the story about him in the MLS? I kind of told myself
I
was going to keep an eye on their results, but
Ronnie Dyler was the one that brought him in, didn't he? And he's now left, so I'm going to presume that maybe he wasn't getting the game time if they've not renewed his contract.
Possibly. I said I was going to keep up to date with New York City, but that very, very swiftly didn't happen. So,
does he fall under like one of the named players in the MLS?
Their season's over there, isn't it? Their season runs like March till November or something, is it not? Could be talking.
I think it's something. I know it is something like that because normally Johnny Russell's always back over here.
That's why Landon Donovan used to come to the Premier League, innit? You mentioned Damien Brophy there. Come out to St Mirren on loan, but realistically on a pre-contract. He was chatting we were saying somebody mentioned 3,000 a week or something like that. He's getting offered to St Mirren, which is incredible money.
For being at St Mirren, that's very good money.
There was a lot of people that kind of said he could have went higher. Me personally, I think St Mirren's the perfect level for him. What do you think?
The only thing that confuses me is Brophy's a kind of 2 up top striker, if that makes sense, which I've never really seen St Mirren do, which kind of confuses me that St Mirren in this window have now signed 2 strikers and still have Erwin, Obika and Dennis. So they've got 5 strikers now for...
I think that Dennis boy left.
Did he leave, right? So
I think so.
Potentially 4 guys competing for one position unless they choose to go to a 4-4-2, which they might do.
That moves on to his potential number 9 partnership, Colin Connor, if that's how you pronounce his name. I'm sure we'll find out in the coming weeks. It's obviously a player we've heard about anyway. So
I mean, based off Football Manager, it's some signing, but in the real world, I'm not sure.
Well, I think he was part of the Huddersfield team that came up for the Championship. So
he did play in the Premier League. I mean, if you look at his goal return for a striker, it's realistically, it's not great. But I mean, he's been at the likes of Union Berlin, who were on the up, Huddersfield, who got up into the Premier League. He's played in good teams, so if you can go to
Is the Schalke manager right now
Mirren,
that David Wagner that was a Huddersfield manager?
he's not there anymore. Ali would be the man to ask Saturday. I don't know who's in charge of it. I know they went in a run at winning for 30 odd games and won at the weekend, but
I thought that was two very good signings, but for St Mirren anyway, we'll see in the coming months if they pay off or not. Moving on to Livingston, they've signed two strikers, Gavin Riley from Carlisle. David Martindale said that it's a player that they've actually been chasing for a few years, but it's just never materialised. He obviously scored a lot of goals for St Mirren in the Championship, but never really set off in the SPL.
He was at Hearts, I think.
Jazzy Kabay, whatever you want to pronounce him as, came for Shells in Ireland, 20 years old.
I hope you're not wanting me to talk about this guy, because I've never... It's surprising.
Right, he played the last 20 minutes against Longford in the relegation playoff final. Tell us about it.
Well, it was a great game. Played in the right spirits.
I just messaged one of the boys who works. His brother's a Shells fan. He just said he was actually surprised he got the move. It doesn't really rate him too highly, to be honest, his end product.
So, to be honest, you can't argue with it, and Martindale's then, to be honest, can you? So
I know. Gavin scored 20 goals, so
it's 20 goals a season to each of them.
But you can clear to see that that's the one area of the park that they've looked to strengthen, with obviously Lyndon Dykes leaving in the summer. Tony Stokes came in, never really done it. Emmanuel Thomas never really set the league on fire. Had a bit of flair for the second goal.
He looked quite handy at the weekend against County.
But obviously, goal scoring wise, not exactly set the league alive. Can you see them doing any more business, or do you think? But obviously, Martindale take the job now. Do you think he'd be happy with the playing squad?
They've got a winning formula now. Obviously, it's not as if Martindale's coming in to sign his own players that he's had before, because he's not came from anywhere. He's been at Livingston, so they've got a winning formula there. I can't imagine they will change too much. And they've got an easy game. They've got an easy game at the weekend. So
over the next 2 weeks, I believe.
I think it's Saturday and Wednesday.
Wednesday, back to back.
6 points to Livy, and we'll see what it takes.
Moving on to Motherwell, obviously Liam Kelly came in, we think, prior to Alexander actually being brought in, but he was just a replacement for Jordan Archer, and I think Liam Kelly's just a brilliant signing on loan anyway. Livingston.
It seems if you do well at Livingston, you end up at Motherwell.
It's like Southampton.
Many players that have done well at Livy and ended up at Motherwell. Obviously, Motherwell probably missed. In fact, Motherwell did miss the best of the bunch in Dykes, but
actually we got Lammy, Gallagher, and Kelly. What else you got? And else?
The boy Crawford.
Robbie Crawford.
To be honest, I don't actually know if he set the header alight at Livy, but he was at Livy and ended up at Motherwell. So
I think Motherwell will be a club that probably do the most business this window. Just
I can imagine Motherwell sticking to the kind of signing policy they've had for a number of years and looking in the kind of English lower leagues, like League One and League Two.
And I think Alexander's probably get a massive knowledge of players that would be without a club.
He will have a good network of players down there, so you'd imagine they'll sign quite a few, maybe 4 or 5 this window.
My only worry was that when he has been a manager at clubs before, he has carried a couple of players with him. One player is Ashley Hunter. He's took from Fleetwood to Salford, and he's taken Paddy Madden as well to Scunthorpe and stuff like that. But these type of players that have delivered from Motherwell can't afford these types of players. These are players that they would need to spend money on, and it's just not going to happen. So, be curious to see what kind of level of bodies he brings in, if it's going to be unattached players or loan deals or whatever.
I definitely want to keep an eye on.
So you just kind of touched on there the last point. Your next 2 league games are against Livingston. Livingston home and away. How are you feeling about that one?
No,
Depends. Is it going to be the same team?
it's no. It's
Well, I'd imagine for the first game anyway.
definitely for the first one, it'll be a similar squad. Aye. I know, obviously, they recalled the boy Robertson for Gillingham to go into the squad this weekend.
Aye.
I know Doohan for the county as well. I'm quite surprised they never recalled Afalabi for Dundee. I don't know what kind of quality he has, but the fact he's a striker kind of says that you would bring him in anyway, because we're kind of playing with it. Okoflex came on last night, but he's always been kind of merely a winger for what I know. Yeah. He's no somebody I like anyway, so...
he's a weirdo, isn't he? But, there's no much you can do for that first game. No really much you can do to change it up. We just need to hope that team we put out manages to see the game out better than they did at Hibs, and no give away a stupid goal for a set piece again. There's not really much more to say. Toff, Gavin Strachan's going to be on the bench again. It's going to be a similar setup. We'll just be crossing our fingers and hoping for the best.
21 points, Tora, is it doable?
If it is, I'll eat my shoe on air.
It requires such a swing in fortune that it's probably not going to happen, because it requires you to completely collapse. It's at the same time of us reversing our fortune.
Somebody actually said
it's absolutely done.
If Rangers lose 4 games and Celtic win every game from now to the end of the season, Rangers will still win on goal difference.
Yeah.
Exactly. It
is absolutely finished. It was finished months ago, but the final nail in the coffin, which already had hundreds and hundreds of nails in it, was the game last week.
Gavin Strachan's got the nails.
The coffin's more metal than wood now.
It's been a formality for a good few months in my eyes. Just, we've been rotten. Rangers have been super consistent. That's the bottom line of it.
Aye, we're shy.
I wanted to touch on one last thing I seen on Twitter, and bearing in mind I don't have any knowledge of this except for the tweet I seen, but it was before the Rangers game, and it was like Celtic have played such and such, maybe 19 games or something at this stage every season, and have collected 43 points or whatever, and it roughly averaged, except for the Invincible season, for the last 9 seasons or something, they've averaged the same points tally. And there was a lot of people saying that there's a kind of regression at Celtic this year, but do you think it is a regression, or do you think it's just more they've got a real challenge this year?
No, I think we covered up the cracks.
You can point to facts like that all you want. I mean, you just need to look at what's happening in the park. There's a clear regression there. Since obviously Rodgers was a level of manager that you're not going to be able to replace easily, but the fact we didn't even make an effort to replace him. And I think last season, Fraser Forster being a top-class goalie papered over a lot of cracks, and they're all coming home to roost now that we've got no very good goalie.
No very good free goalies. We've not got one good goalie in 3. It's abysmal. And I agree with McCann. We papered over a lot of the cracks last season and relied on Rangers being absolutely shite for quite a bit of it. The fact that you've been consistent, well organised, Gerrard's done a great job of management this year, compared to the absolute omni-shambles that's happening at Celtic, is just, there's nowhere you can hide from that, and it comes out of the board on a complete lack of investment. We've not replaced players properly when they've left. You don't replace quality with quality. This is what happens. You regress. It's a natural thing to happen.
I would actually argue in the window we spent quite a fair amount of money, but we've not got the right captain in the ship. Let's be honest. But you can sign whoever if they're not being coached properly. If the level of professionalism isn't there, we're not going to compete with Rangers.
Nah, exactly.
And we're not going to be anything close to competing in Europe.
Yeah. Now you look at the Rangers team, they're well drilled, know what they're doing. You look at Celtic's team, we're just looking for a moment of brilliance come by someone. There's no real game plan. It's just hit and hope, basically.
I mean, there's been an upturn in performances since Turnbull and Sorrow have both come in, but I think that's just the fact Turnbull's a special player. More than Lennon's kind of tactical neons.
Neons. He has no neons. Not an ounce of neons in his bones. He only has, what's it called? Fucking dip and fucking nonsense.
I think.
I don't actually know. I don't know if neons is a word, but fuck it. It's getting
Nuance.
late.
It's nuance. We've been here now in 35 minutes. Nuance.
Yeah, the 90 minutes is up. McCann's just left. I don't know what's happened. McCann's just had an absolute meltdown at the fact that Celtic are 21 points behind and just thought.
So I just said neons instead of nuance, and I've just went along with him.
Right, so this was our first live streamed podcast episode on YouTube.
Right.
Hopefully we'll get one out in the coming months, and I'll have my Union Jack hat on, and Rangers will be 47 points clear at the top of the league by that point. David Martindale second. The
idea is each of the 3 podcasts will do something on this channel at least once a month. So the next thing that will be going on this channel, I think, is Sunday from FTTV. It'll be me, Higgins, and Sweeney doing a Cobra Kai season 3 review. So if anyone's interested in that, give that a watch.
Can't say I've watched it, Tuffles. It's not for me, but.
Aye. And then Torres will be back reviewing One Division. I don't know if I've asked him that yet, but
He's not.
He'll be there for that.
That's your stung.
That's me roped into it live.
Right, boys, always a pleasure. Never a joke.
See you later, guys. Bye.
See you later.